Next topic, which is brought to us by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you because Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to tip-off, and they've got some incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. We're going to talk some more Guardians. We'll talk Browns in a little bit, but we got to spend a few minutes here on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell went on the Taylor Rooks X podcast. It's a podcast hosted by Bleacher Report, and said something very similar to something Jason and I have been preaching over the last 12 months. So I'm curious. I have a different question to ask off of Donovan's comments. But essentially, Donovan challenged Evan Mobley to become more aggressive. Here's the clip, and then we got a question on the back end.
Kenny came up to me and was like, hey, like, try to push Evan Mobley. And even more so next year. Push Ev, push Ev, push Ev. Ev has the potential, man, and he's continuing to take that rise. And I'm glad he said it. Like, they asked who the next face of the league was in 5 years, and he said himself and Wemby. I love that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now my push to Ev is I need 20 shots. Mm-hmm. But he has to go and say that. Like, give me the ball. Yep. Like, be able to demand, like, you know what I mean? But I was the same way as him. Like, I was a little more demonstrative than he was, but, like, being comfortable in that space, that, because what comes from that is fair success and praise, but also criticism. Yeah. I've had 5 of 20s, 5 of 36s. Like, you know what I mean? I've had those, and I've had people talk on me about that. But you keep going, and he's continuing to find that space. And, I think for us to be great, and we've said it all year, he has to continue to take a step. So I tell him, like, nah, we need more. Demand it. If I don't pass you the ball, get on my ass. Yeah. If DG don't get the ball, get on his ass. If Ty don't get it to you, get on his ass. And be okay with that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that he's continuing, and he's ready for it. I have no doubt. I talked to him this summer. He's ready for it. He's excited for it. But, when you're quiet like the way he is, sometimes you got to get out of body a little bit more. I think that's the growth.
So Donovan challenging Evan to become more aggressive, more assertive, calling for the ball. The guards, he mentioned himself, and Darius having to get him the ball more. We know he has to become more aggressive. But I want to ask, and G, I'm curious, I want your opinion on this first. Can a player inherently become more demonstrative throughout their career, or is that something you're simply kind of born with or born out of? Does that make sense?
I think you can become more demonstrative. I think it happens a lot. Like, when you see a guy go from a regular, I would say the first time you get a guy that makes his first All-Star game, he's like, oh, I'm here now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you start. Then there's another jump, like when you go from your first All-Star to making an All-NBA team. Then that's that another jump. And then at that point in time, you start seeing them around other guys. You start seeing them get the rock. You start to see, like, other little pieces and parts that come with their game. And a lot of people don't understand, like I forget who I was watching who said this. I think Kenyon Martin was saying it on Gilbert Arenas' podcast. He said, what you don't understand is everybody can't shoot. And he said, not saying that they can't make the shot. Everybody does not have the green light to take that. Like he said, you might got 1 or 2 guys on the court at one time that can shoot anytime they want. And so you fitting off of how they gonna move, how they gonna wondering if they're gonna shoot the basketball. So yes, I see it happening a lot where people can move up the ranks a little bit. But that usually is on mediocre or bad teams where you can insert yourself. It's kind of tough to go from being a guy that's a third string or third alternative guy who has the basketball to getting to the point where you're used to deferring. You're used to being like, okay, well, Darius has the ball when he's dribbling on the left side of the court. This is what he likes to do. Or Donovan, we down 6. Donovan got the ball. He's coming up. He's feeling it a little bit. He's going to take a heat check 3. So it's kind of difficult for you to get to that level. And I think Evan Mobley, the one thing that I want him to work on, and if he does work on this, if he gets his handle tighter, right now he can dribble the ball 3 times, 4 times, and get to where he wants to go. But if he can work on his handle and get it tighter, where it's to a point where, right, just like that, you see how he was dribbling, he kind of lost the ball a little bit. He does that a lot, right? But if he can get that better and be able to not only go left or right, and be able to dribble and run and operate off the pick and roll. Now that's the unicorn status. Can you imagine? It's Evan Mobley handling. That's your 5 or 4 at the top of the key, running pick and roll with Jared Allen. Come on, bro. If he can handle, he already is a really good passer. If he get to that next evolutionary step, he don't have to wait on Donovan or Darius. He can just get the ball and do what I want to with it.
I guess the question I have, and you guys can answer, is Evan able to? One side is he ever going to be have that in him, that vocalness to demand the ball and be an alpha dog? And on the other side, would that be easier for him if Darius or Donovan, but we'd all prefer Darius, were not on the team and there weren't 2 guys that take so many shots? I think that's the question. Can one happen without the other?
Can it? Sure.
Yeah.
And, you're going to see it because Darius is going to be out for the first few weeks. So that's a great opportunity for Evan to sort of play that way. I don't know that you need to be Kevin Garnett. And plus, you can't be fake about it. Like, it has to be it has to be real.
Yeah.
And there, you can have muscles that you don't know you have, right? You got to train them, and you got to train yourself to be a little bit more vocal. But that doesn't mean that you have to be standing on the court screaming and yelling at everyone. Because KG actually, a couple times I've seen in podcasts where he's called out Evan as a guy that's like, you got to demand the ball from them. Right. And if you don't get it from them, you go to them in timeouts and you say, get me the bleeping ball. But you can do that in a way and still be yourself. It doesn't have to be, we think of like vocal leadership is this demonstrative thing. And Tim Duncan wasn't that guy, but yet Tim Duncan was an absolute killer on the court. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't, it's not necessarily in the theatrics of it and in the, and you have to scream and yell. You can still emerge as that guy without changing who you are at your core.
Right.
And I think that's sort of what he's probably trying to figure out this summer, because again, he took a massive step last year. Now he's got to take another massive step this year, both on court and off court, because basically the entire organization has now pushed him to do this. You've heard it from Kenny, you've heard it from Kobe, and now you've heard it from Donovan. So this is a concerted message from the organization to Evan, to everyone else, and to Evan. This is what you have to do. In order for us to get where we want to go, you have to be the one that carries it there. And
he has to be an alpha.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
in his way.
It's and it's a fair point to raise. Can you do that when you have 2 ball dominant guards?
Right.
Because that's what they ran into. But they were never trying to make Kevin Love an alpha. Like, it was LeBron and Kyrie and then Kevin.
Yeah.
And that's why we go back to that comparison a lot. But they were never trying to make Kevin an alpha with those guys. They were just trying to make him comfortable. They're trying to make Evan an alpha.
And you don't got difference. And you don't got to be yelling. He don't got to be yelling and screaming if his game is loud. Like, what I mean by that is look, when they talk about being aggressive, like, you don't have to be yelling and jumping up and down. It's, I got the ball in the post, and understanding, it's a mismatch on me. I need that immediately. I don't care if you got a good shot. I need the ball right now.
Right.
Then it switched on a pick and roll. Oh, nope. Give me the rock. Because those things later on in the season or later on in games or possessions, those lead to easier baskets, because now you have to be threatened with the fact that if you guys just want to play around with us and do that, Evan Mobley can kill you. Like, if he gets to the point where it's like, right now, if you stop Donovan Mitchell, it's done. Cavs are finished. They need to get to a point where Evan Mobley, they said, well, if you stop Donovan, you still got to stop Evan Mobley.
Right. I also think, we're talking about what Evan has to do, and obviously he has to do these things. But I think Donovan and Darius have to do a better job also. Especially late how many times do we see this year in the regular season where Mobley was having a great game and then he didn't get the ball in the fourth
How
quarter?
about
We
game
saw that a
5
lot
against Indiana.
Well, even in the playoffs, and we've got to, and that's on them. Ultimately, he could demand all he wants, and they know he's not going to be as vocal as maybe they'd like him to be. But they got to get him the ball more. They've got to make sure they do it. It can't just become the Donovan show all the time at late. And I think especially, I was saying at the end of the year, Evan doesn't step up when he's playing good centers or when he's playing in big games, and that's true to some degree, but I think also in those games against those guys, Donovan and Darius don't, I don't know if they don't trust Mobley enough in those spots yet, but they have to.
They have to trust him.
Yeah.
Getting a big man in the basketball takes everybody. It takes Evan to be more demonstrative, aggressive, call for it. To Jason's point, he's never going to be Kevin Garnett. I don't think he'll ever be an in-your-face, grill ya, yell.
Right.
I say this as a compliment, but Kevin Garnett was a psycho. Evan's never going to be a psycho on the court. And I think if he does, it'll come off fake and not have any validity within the team. The guards have to do a better job of getting him the ball. Kenny Atkinson has to do a better job of designing certain sets coming out of ATOs, out of quarters, etc., to feature Mobley, because when Mobley gets his confidence early, he tends to have bigger and better games. And I was thinking about some of the roster changes the Cavs have made. And on the second unit last year, a lot of times, Ty Jerome was paired with Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell and those guys. And Ty Jerome, who, to Bull's point, did technically average more assists than Lonzo Ball, was a score first, facilitate second kind of guard. And when you switch him out with Lonzo Ball, and there's a giant health factor with Lonzo Ball, part of the reason I think the Lonzo swap with Ty Jerome could help activate even more of Evan Mobley is it's just going to force Evan Mobley to be more aggressive because there's one less guy on the court looking for his shot first. And now if you have a trio on the court of Lonzo, Donovan, and Evan, Lonzo's going to help get those two guys good looks first and foremost before he looks for anything for himself. When it was Ty Jerome and Donovan, both of those guys are score first in that mindset.
Right.
And then Evan was cleaning up the scraps and eating third.
Yeah.
It's going to force Evan to be more aggressive in those secondary units.
Let me ask you this, Jason. I don't know. You didn't obviously cover the Spurs, but how do you you guys mentioned one of you mentioned Duncan, right?
Yeah,
Who was not a vocal guy.
Right.
He was quiet, but he was obviously an all-time great player. I wonder how did it become where you knew you had to get him the ball, even though he wasn't in your face, he wasn't yelling, he wasn't doing any of that, but everybody knew got to get Tim Duncan the ball, and he just got the ball. I wonder how that transition took place.
Jason, if you don't have an answer, I do.
And he was coming up with David Robinson already there, so it was
a different game. But go ahead.
Yeah,
Mike.
that's true. That's a big part of it. You're right.
Different game. Duncan played longer in college, was a little more seasoned coming in.
That's true.
And immediately, from the second he stepped on an NBA court, when he had a mismatch in the post, he was 2 points. And when you have proven results from the get-go,
Mobley had to develop more.
It becomes second nature. That's
a good point.
In any sport, if you could run the ball with Nick Chubb and he's getting 5 yards a carry, what are you gonna do more of? Run the ball with Nick Chubb. And my biggest complaint with Mobley and my biggest complaint with the Cavs, and G. Bush, you mentioned this earlier, when they switch, the Cavs switch defensively all the time. We saw in the playoffs, Siakam or Turner ended up on Darius Garland, and immediately Indiana found the mismatch in the post, went to it. When teams switch against the Cavs, it wasn't an automatic dump down, feed the big in the post on a smaller guard. It has to become, maybe not every time, but that should be the first look. And when Evan gets that mismatch and when he gets the ball, he's got to go score and be aggressive and make good things happen. And when that happens more consistently and with more frequency, then it becomes second nature for the guards to get the ball to Evan.
And that part, the part where he's ready to get the ball in those situations and immediately goes to the basket, that's all on him. That's all on him and his improvement as a player. But it has to happen, and you guys have said it. If the Cavs have any hope of winning a championship, it is completely clear, and Jason, you've said this for a while, they are not winning if Donovan Mitchell is their best player.
No.
It's cut and dried.
They know. Donovan knows that.
Yes, he knows.
He just admitted that to you.
Yes, 100%.
In so many words.
Yeah.
And one more point on the Duncan thing.
Yeah.
From from very early in his career, he was always the best player on the team.
Yeah, like it's Tim Duncan.
As good as Tony Parker was, as good as Manu was.
That's true.
Those are Hall of Fame guys.
David Robinson.
No. As good as David Robinson was, Tim Duncan came in the first year. They was like, oh, he's better than everybody.
They had 1 year together. Yeah. I think it was 1 year together.
99.
Tim Duncan finished 5th in the MVP voting as a rookie.
99.
That's amazing. I wonder, guys, and I think it would be good for the NBA and good for the players. You know, for all the complaints about NIL, I wonder if NIL is going to keep guys in college longer.
It'll keep not the top 10 guys. It'll keep the second tier.
The senior.
Not even seniors, but like, for example, Igor Demmin, the guy the Nets drafted, I'm pretty sure. Well, the Nets did draft him. I'm pretty sure he came back for his sophomore year because he was a projected mid-first round pick.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I can make $2 million going back to school.
Right.
As opposed to being 15 to 25.
Right.
Came back, became the 8th overall pick.
I'm just so down on college basketball as a whole. I don't believe college basketball trains guys for the NBA like it once did. It doesn't matter how long you stay. It doesn't matter.
That's probably true.
Again, college basketball is a clapping.
I was wrong on Denman. That wasn't the case for him. I'm thinking of someone else.
You're right.
Clapping conversation.
All
These dudes be running around clapping.
I got a shout out, not to my butcher, not to my baker.
Before you do that, is this a basketball? Before we move on to the topic, I have one last thing on this. I was curious. Mobley in his 4 seasons, ready for his field goal attempts per game?
Go ahead.
Jason, what do you think they are for his 4 seasons? Just real quick, I'll give you the answer.
Like year by year?
Year by year, yeah.
8, 10, 12, 14.
I was going to say like 6, 7, 9, 13.
12, 12, 11, 12.
Oh, wow.
I would not have guessed that.
So for some other guys in comparable spheres to Mobley, just the way other teams in the past, historically speaking, have increased their volume. We'll start with Giannis. Came in incredibly raw, didn't see, but he went from 5 to 10 to 13 to 16 to 19 in year 5.
Well, the first year he didn't play a lot, right?
24 minutes a game, 5 field goal attempts. But still 5, 10, 12.
And
we mentioned Tim Duncan. Not the greatest example because he came in as the best player, but 16, 17, 17, 18, 18. So slight increase.
Yeah.
Kevin Garnett, another guy we mentioned, played 29 minutes as a rookie compared to Mobley, who played 33. So slightly fewer minutes, but he averaged 9, 14, 16, 19, 20, 19. So, like, there is that natural progression where these guys, at some point...
But Mobley hasn't had that.
And that's what I'm saying. They have not had that jump with Mobley. If it's going to happen, it has to be this year.
But you look at those guys, you start looking at their game. When you start to look at Giannis and you start to look at KG, they started actually having the ball running offense through them. Like, they see, that's the thing. If you're going to be, even when in high school, my dad was always like, listen, dribbling is your vehicle. And if you're trying to date a girl, you got to have some wheels, bro. And girls like people who score. You got to be able to get to where you want to go without waiting for Darius Garland to do this. No. I got it, Darius. You wave Darius off. See what I'm saying?
Right.
If you got the ball, he already got the rebound. He's done it. He's done that with coast to coast. But he can bring the ball up and move it up and start the sets that he want to start and move people off the basketball. But that takes him having that improved area of concentration and saying this summer, I need to be going through guard workouts. I don't even need like post up. That's cool. I got that. The 3-point shot, I got that. I already know I'm a defensive savant. I got that. I need to work on getting where I need to go and getting to my spots efficiently on the court.
Doesn't he have to get